The World Cup keeps rolling along, but preps for it started several weeks and in many cases months ago, especially when we're talking about the natural grass being used in stadiums around the U.S. Joining me now, Cornell Associate Professor and New York Turfgrass Extension Specialist Frank Rossi. Frank, so good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate you having me on.
So when we chatted last fall, it was because you and your team were in charge of the course at the Ryder Cup down on Long Island. I want you to try as best you can. Compare what you and your team did down there to the what they're doing with the grass for the World Cup here. Totally different things?
Yeah, well, I don't want to take any credit for anything, right? We advise and consent. We're sort of like the doctors on the sideline of the NFL. You know, you don't know you need them until you really need them, but they're good to have around. So we're sort of that way. And I guess the similarities would be, you know, John Sorokin and Trey Rogers, who were in charge of the sort of the research that went into getting these fields the way they were, they've been at it for the better part of 30 years. And when I showed up at the Ryder Cup, we'd been working with the state park people for about 25 years. Wow. So it really is an indication of when you work long-term on something that you're really able to inform the industry in a way that delivers exactly what you want.
How intricate is it to grow this grass, ship it in, and then make sure it's perfect specifically for soccer players here for this World Cup?
Yeah, you know, it's got to be well staged, right? But it begins with testing. Believe it or not, Jeff, it really is about data. You got different grasses. You got indoor stadiums, outdoor stadiums. Mexico City's at a very high elevation, you know, and then you're in Kansas City and other places where you've got different climates, you know, MetLife. Then you're inside at the Jerry Dome. You have to have data to say they will play the same way. You have to have managers in place who can manipulate the management of the surface. The most interesting part of the whole thing is their natural grass systems with synthetic fibers stitched in them. Oh. And that provides them a level of consistency across these venues that will give the players exactly what they want, a predictable, reliable surface.
Interesting that you kind of talk about what kind of goes into it there. So basically most of these stadiums, at least in the U.S., those are NFL arenas. The surface in a lot of them, artificial. NFL players we know have been begging for natural grass and all of this. Yeah. But the stuff we see now, it's probably going to be gone after the World Cup. I mean, how come they don't just leave it down in these stadiums? MetLife, in Jerry Stadium in Dallas.
Yeah, it's very, and I'm sure you know the answer to this. The answer to every question eventually is money.
Okay.
They sell these stadiums out for a variety. I mean, they may have rodeos. I think the stadium in Houston had to rejigger some things around the national rodeo thing. And in some cases, the NFL teams don't actually own the stadiums, Jeff, which means they're tenants in there, right? So you would need I would say right now, you'd need a 2 to 3 week window to build it in, get it stabilized, play on it, and then if you wanted another event, take it out. They don't have it yet, but I think they will soon, where you can move these things in and out quicker. It's just we're not there yet.
Is it as simple as, I mean, I've read and heard a lot of NFL players who think that it's the artificial grass that's leading to more injuries. I mean, how true is that, or is it a lot more complex, this whole artificial versus natural, especially when it comes, I guess, to football and the wear and tear on their bodies and the injuries?
Well, you know, as a good academic, I'm going to say it's a lot more complex than we often think. But what I will say is we have data that indicates a couple of things. Number one, it doesn't matter what surface you're playing on. Your footwear really has a big impact on the traction that you get. And the primary reason we worry about traction is the number one injury differential between the two surfaces is lower extremity injuries. And that's entirely related to the traction you get on the surface. And those lower extremity non-contact injuries, ACLs, ankles, hips, where you don't get hit, those things happen at a higher incidence on artificial surfaces because of the fatigue from the intense traction. Effectively, you don't slip enough.
Okay, gotcha. Is it maybe time for one more possibly here? Is it possible to have a natural surface that can hold up to football and then also those multiple events? Because I know what we're seeing now for the World Cup is very specific to soccer players. You talked about kind of how it's developed and how it's put together. But could we have something that's natural, that holds up to that short, choppy steps, 350-pound lineman, and then also have a rodeo and things like that? Natural.
Yeah, well, I think those things. Okay,
Unicorn?
I think the answer to that question. I think the answer to that question is no.
Okay.
I think if you're going to bury it in dirt and play motocross or do a rodeo, you might as well take the grass out and then put it back in. And I think we may develop some better systems for that. This has certainly enhanced it. You know, we're currently doing it, Jeff. They do it at Arizona. They got it in Vegas, where the field is outside and then inside. Right. You know, so I don't think we're going to see multi-use stadiums with natural grass in them anytime soon. But I do think the fact that you're having me on the news program and the fact that J.C. Tretter and the NFL Players Association is talking about this, I think it indicates that there's a demand for it, and more science and more research, I think, will lead to getting exactly what they want.
Frank, I love chatting with you. This is really fun. We'll have you back again sometime soon. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Who knew grass was so interesting,
right?
Jeff? Thanks very much.
Download the WSYR Plus app on your TV to stream News Channel 9 for free. Just go to your smart TV, search WSYR Plus in the App Store, and download to start streaming today.